You're listening to a CNA podcast.
The clouds parting, the sun coming out. Check's calendar, it's pretty much summer, at least in much of the northern hemisphere. But this one literally is coming in hot. Extreme heat is on the way for many of us. Today we do a check of the sizzling mercury. Hello and welcome to Climate Conversations. I'm Jack Board. Hello to Liling.
Hello, Jack. Nice to see you again.
Yes, likewise. Now you keep telling me that you're planning a summer holiday, yet every week you still turn up here.
Stockholm Syndrome.
What if I could tell you that this incoming season could shatter global high temperature records? Does that make you want to find a beach even more or huddle in the AC?
Can't I have both? Bake in the sun for a few minutes and then cool off in the beach, or dip into a nearby villa that's fully air conditioned without feeling guilty about contributing to carbon emissions and refrigerants and all that stuff? Can't I have it all, Jack?
Look, you can. you can. It's willful ignorance of what's happening in the world. Yeah, these temperatures look like they're going to be wild. And I think it's starting to grow as a factor when I'm thinking about taking a little break, like going to Europe in August, for example. Forget it. Even go to parts of East Asia in August. I just won't do it anymore.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. And the heat is also a bit different from the kind of heat we get here in Singapore. A lot of it is very dry heat and scorching heat, and it really reduces or limits the types of places we can go on holidays, right? If we go to the beach, it's too hot. We want to go to a fishing village, it's too hot. Anything outdoorsy is a problem. So yeah, it's going to limit a lot of our holiday options moving forward.
Now, you and I have been talking about our plants as well that have been suffering in the heat, and they can't go on holiday. They're stuck in place. And I've been getting all of my auntie advice from Liling about how to care for various plants.
So you've got a fan palm that's dying. I mean,
it's dead. It's dead.
It's dead. There's no hope. I mean, it is brown, light brown, not even a dark brown. It's a light brown and it's crispy. And
it's crispy now. Yeah. It's so sad. Every day I look out there and it makes me feel upset.
Yeah.
So we'll be doing some plant replacement soon. All right, let's get into it. Quiz time. And I'm taking the question right into your territory, Singapore. Now, there's been some interesting heat research done by an organization called World Weather Attribution. We're going to talk about some of their other findings later, but one statistic on Singapore stood out. It was really striking. Now, Singapore clocked one of the highest scores in the world in terms of how many extra days of extreme heat it experienced over the past year. So that's May to May. What do you think that number was? Extra days of extreme heat beyond normal.
30?
365 days
50?
a year?
Ooh, my voice. 50?
50?
150? I don't know.
Well, none of those are correct, but I'll let you mull on it until the end of the episode.
I'll chew on it.
It's time for our main story this week. Brace yourself. Extreme heat is on the way over the coming months, the Northern Hemisphere summer. Whether you're in the US or Europe, in China or Japan, this summer is going to hit hard. That's what forecasters are saying. This heat, fueled by climate change, is going to have consequences for power grids, for students in classrooms and workers indoors and outdoors, for crops and animals, for water supplies and heat-induced disasters. It's already been happening. 4 billion people experienced at least a month of extreme temperatures over the past year. In the tropics, they've been heightened too. Now, Liling, given what scientists have been reporting for many years, the alarm signals that have been escalating in recent times, this shouldn't really be a surprise.
No, you're right. People are going to have to get used to summers like this. It's just going to get worse and worse and worse, and we're all going to bake, boil, and fry.
Okay.
Yeah. If not in our lifetime, then in our children's lifetime, and so on and so forth. Okay. The global temperature situation has been rising and it's going to keep going in that direction. So no surprise, Jack, that this is a hot year too. 2025 is scorching.
Yeah, it will be. And the last decade contains all 10 of the warmest years on record, right? And
That's
2025 is just going to join that collection.
That's correct. And last year, the global average temperature reached 15.1 degrees, making it the warmest year since records began in 1850. So do the math. That's like a century and what is it?
175
That's 175 years. Okay, thanks. It was between about 1.5 to 1.6 degrees above pre-industrial levels, depending on which agency you go by. So not so good.
And that's past the threshold that puts us on the path to these catastrophic and intense, more frequent extreme weather events that all of our climate action is meant to be trying to avoid.
And we've talked about this a lot of times, that 1.5 degrees increase may not seem to make a huge impact on our everyday lives. But when these heat waves get more extreme in nature,
it's the escalating impacts of a heat wave. When you're starting at a higher point, a heat wave will take a higher temperature to new extremes, which we're not really braced for. We haven't experienced before.
None of this, of course, bodes well for summer holidays.
For sure. So for countries in our region, and let's look at a really popular holiday destinations for people in Singapore, for people in Thailand as well, all around the region, like Japan, South Korea, China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, it's going to get uncomfortable. And Southeast Asia too is expected to be hotter than usual as well.
But hey, it's not just the heat you're going to have to deal with. There's also wet weather to brace for. And I'm not talking about that cooling summer drizzle. I'm talking erratic and extreme rainfall, floods, and that's all becoming increasingly frequent as well.
Yeah, if you just go by simple meteorology, it tells us that the warmer atmospheres hold more moisture. So heat will coincide with heavy rainfall and then floods too. So this could end up being record shattering in some parts, according to climatologists. And this is already playing havoc in China. There's been drought in northern parts of the country over the past few months. The government has been seeding clouds with chemical compounds, that process where they go up in planes and drop little compounds out to induce rain. Now, you've also got the prospect of heavy rain coming in these parts too. So there's this whipsaw now between dry and wet weather, which means floods and potential crop damage. So then if you keep looking across the globe, see that similar things are also expected to play out in other regions too.
Have you experienced a peak Japanese summer, Jack? They can be really brutal, yeah?
Yeah, made the unwise decision, I guess, to take a trip to Osaka, I think 2 summers ago, middle of August. Yeah, it was 38 degrees, trying to walk around a big concrete jungle city like that, and air conditioning. Well, when you're on a holiday, you don't want to always be in an air-conditioned building, right? You want to go and explore. Yeah, it was really tough.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal in Japan, and it's getting serious about protecting workers, especially from these kind of conditions that you were talking about. With temperatures soaring and heat stroke cases on the rise, the government is cracking down on companies that don't take proper precautions to keep their workers safe. And starting now, businesses must implement measures like providing shaded rest areas, ensuring access to water, and adjusting work schedules to avoid the hottest parts of the day. So companies that fail to comply could face fines of up to 500,000 yen, which is about $3,500. Now, a lot of this will naturally affect outdoor workers, and we know this is an issue not just in Japan, but right around across the world as well.
That's right. And I'm always amazed and in awe really about some of the gig workers, the delivery riders, not to mention your road and construction workers. Every day I see in Bangkok, it's tough work for little pay, yet they're becoming even more critical to our economies.
Yeah, I see a lot of that here in Singapore as well. I saw on social media in Japan, though, that they have these air-conditioned jackets that I think a lot of outdoor workers and construction workers use. I don't know if you've seen these. They're like these poofy jackets with battery-operated fans, and they're like blowing air into the jacket. So it becomes these like little puffer fish kind of a jacket and walking around like that. And it cools them down because it evaporates their perspiration and just generally keeps them regulated. That's something interesting. A lot of
All right,
innovation coming
I'm
around
gonna
this.
get one of those for my next live crosses. I'll just be there
Oh,
in a
you
little
need
Michelin
to
Man outfit.
do it. Do it and let me know. Let me know when you do it.
Now, does Singapore actually have similar measures to what Japan is introducing?
Well, not the battery powered fan jacket, but
Well, not yet.
not yet. But apart from that, there are various rules around acclimatization, hydration, rest and shade, rescheduling work to be outside the hottest part of the day, for example. So Japan's rules are not world first by any means, but it's interesting that it's happening there regardless, because unlike Japan, everyone knows Singapore is always hot throughout the year, even without climate change blowing everything up.
Yeah. So speaking about Singapore, on CNA recently, we featured a really interesting piece from our colleague Lorraine Lee, who looked at various studies that found that rising temperatures reduce educational outcomes and children's cognitive ability in the classroom. Now, in her story, she talks about how Singapore's rising temperatures, especially during May and June, have made it challenging for students to concentrate in classrooms without air conditioning. Now, already this blows my mind that kids are trying to learn without AC. That's so tough.
Yeah.
Now, this heat has led to obviously things like discomfort and fatigue, skin issues like eczema among students. And to address these concerns, schools are implementing various strategies to keep students cool and focused. So that might be more casual school uniforms, more trees and greenery in school areas, blower fans too, and then guidelines about when physical activity can take place, i.e. not when it's really hot. All of this seems like common sense. How do you think about these types of findings, given that your daughter will be going through the Singaporean school system and experiencing these really hot days when she's trying to learn?
Yeah, it's definitely concerning. And we are very aware of the kind of steps schools take to make sure the students are kept safe and hydrated. Right now, there's a lot of focus on sunscreen and hats and cooling off when playing outdoors. Now, I'm also conscious about keeping her acclimatized separately from school, so not so dependent on air conditioning. She's doing okay for now. The schools here are generally very aware. So, I figure if I don't spoil her with AC, she might be better suited for this climate.
Okay. Well, yeah, do go and check out Lorraine's story as well on cna.asia. It's a good read if you have kids in Singapore or elsewhere throughout Southeast Asia, I think.
Now, there's one other place in Asia we haven't spoken about, Jack, that always comes up when we're talking about extreme heat. India. We've just seen unprecedented temperatures throughout April, up to 3 degrees above normal, especially at night, which causes a lot of heat exposure and health issues. And I want to look at an emerging paradox highlighted recently by The Economist about one unexpected factor keeping things cooler than they would otherwise be. Jack, can you take a guess? What is the other big issue that India has to constantly contend with?
Air pollution?
Ding, ding, ding. That's right. But surprise, surprise, the smog that often hangs over India's big cities is actually helping to keep its temperatures down. You know why?
Because pollutants reflect some solar radiation. So therefore, improving air quality might actually worsen heat stress, right?
Correct. Good
marks.
job. Top
Yeah,
marks.
I was
Well
listening in school. But my school wasn't that hot.
Yeah.
My school wasn't. Was pretty hot during summer. Yeah, okay.
All right. So for India, talk about being stuck between a rock and a hard place. And their solution, more air conditioning. India is slated to become the largest air conditioning market in the world. And we know that makes the urban island heat effect worse. So it's a bit of a vicious cycle.
Yeah, it's such a crucial challenge for governments going forward. So in the meantime, as we said in Australia, as I was growing up in schools, slip, slop, slap, and save your skin.
What? What? Is that like your sunscreen ritual? Do they teach that at preschool in Australia?
Yeah, it was like a
Really?
national campaign that I think I don't know if they still run this now, but anybody around my age and older would know slip, slop, slap, which is slip on a t-shirt, slop on some sunscreen, and slap on a hat.
Oh, so cute.
Okay, back to our quiz question. I'm repeating it for you, Liling. Singapore recorded how many days of extra extreme heat over the past year? So this is not just how many days of extreme heat, because there could be many, many of those, but these were days beyond what was expected.
Okay.
Right.
On top of those very hot days. So we're talking extra 30 days?
Okay, well, you're not quite right. You needed about a 3 times multiplier on that to be correct. It was 99 days of extra heat.
99?
Due to climate
That's like
change over the past year.
That's
That's like
a lot.
100.
No. Wait, that's crazy.
So Indonesia recorded the same, 99 extra days. Malaysia, 86.
What country had the most days?
It was about 120 days, which a bunch of different Caribbean and Pacific island states recorded, including Barbados and Haiti. So they had some of the worst in the world, but we could see that countries around the equator were the ones that were experiencing more severe heat waves across the last year. If you look at countries that we've spoken about today that get really hot, like Japan, only had 18 more days, and South Korea only 12. So, yeah, really interesting findings, and shows the challenges again for countries in our region trying to contend with this issue. Okay, that's all for this episode of Climate Conversations. Thanks as always for joining us. We'll be right back here next Thursday. Do hit on subscribe so you don't miss it.
Catch you again next week. I'm Liling Tan. Bye for now.
And I'm Jack Board. Thanks as always as well to the team that put together this podcast. Saya Win, Tiffany Ang, Janani Jahari, Pei Ning Ho, and Crispina Robert.